Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another Sci-Fi Shadow Chat. Tonight, as you can see, we are going to discuss horror in sci-fi settings. This is actually going to be a two-parter. We'll do part two next week, right before the big Halloween festivities. Hopefully, get you guys in the mood for some good old-fashioned spookiness right before you go out there and raid the neighborhood for candy or whatever it is you guys do on Halloween. Unfortunately, Halloween's a Monday night, so hopefully we can make your weekend kind of Halloween-ish, since most people will be stuck at home having to go to work the next day. So how you guys doing today? Up right next to me, you can see my partner in crime, the little guy. Oh, I don't even know how the hell to pronounce that. So you're just you're gonna have to introduce yourself, sport.
Yes. Hello. You most likely know who I am. If you don't, welcome to the show. And we are Happy American Horror Holiday. Yes.
And Chimerian, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you always got a spot here, man. Hope you're having a good weekend.
I am within reason.
Within reason, right on. And Hungar, the Starvarian, he's first. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I'm going to pop that link in there one more time, just in case one of you guys wants to hang out with us. We've got Hungar, the Starvarian. In the chat, we've got James L. and we've got Omen Owl. Happy American Horror Holiday indeed. As you guys probably know, this is one of our favorite holidays. We really do it up for the entire month of October. We were gonna decorate the studio, but we were just lazy. But rest assured, for the upcoming holidays, we'll try to, spruce it up a little bit. But we've been pretty busy.
Yeah.
Just change it to Mexibro, Jack. Oh.
No.
No. We are doing great, Hungar. How about yourself? And Owen Owl, how you guys doing tonight? Good, I hope. I hope you're not missing the little one too much there, Owen Owl. I can only imagine how nice it must have been to have your son there full time. So tonight we are going to discuss horror in sci-fi. What makes outer space or sci-fi scenarios scary, terrifying, horrible? And here we have Hungar. Hey, dude, what's happening? Wait a minute. Did you bring props home?
Nope, I'm in the hospital.
Oh, dude. Not to pry, but
I've been in the hospital for like 5 days.
Really?
Yeah.
So kicking your brother's ass at Mech Warrior put you back in the hospital?
I think it might have. The excitement, my body couldn't take it.
Oh man. Hopefully you will be out of there real soon, buddy.
The doctor's thinking tomorrow they had to change. What happened is because I've changed my eating style and stuff like that, my portions, my salt intake, my fatty intake and stuff like that, my blood pressure has been getting a lot better. And they had me on multiple blood pressure medication. So my blood pressure was dropping. So it caused me to pass out, which is a concern anytime you pass out, especially if you've ever had any kind of heart. Like I had a triple bypass 2 years ago. So anytime you have any kind of heart issues, if you pass out, the first thing they look at is your blood pressure dropping. And
sure.
I've got a loop monitor in my chest where they can put a computer on it and just tell what happens with my heart. And so it's like, well, since you passed out, you gotta go into the. I called my physician's assistant. She's like, passed out, go to the hospital, make sure everything's good, right? My blood pressure dropped, and it caused me to pass out. It's happened before, so they want to keep you a couple of days for observation, of course, and They took me off one of the really strong blood pressure medications I've been on because of my lifestyle changes. I'm getting a little healthier, so I'm getting off some of the meds, which is what I really, really want because I take like 20 something medications every day.
Oh, Jesus.
So if I can get off of some of them, I will be happy. The less medications I can take, the better for me, man. So
Wow.
this is actually a good visit.
Okay. Well, so quick question. So you're a cyborg now?
I hope so.
Okay.
I keep on trying. The gun won't come out of my arm like Cybertech or Cyberpunk yet, but I'm trying to make it. It's like, get out there. Hunger the Cyberman. Actually, they're saying that since my heart's been doing pretty good and since my lifestyle changes, they might actually take the stupid monitor out of my chest.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Giggity giggity. So how are you guys doing? Don't worry about me being in the hospital. Let's talk games and Halloween.
Yeah, it was just a shock, buddy. We've been praying for you the whole time, and it was like, wait a minute, So yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. We've kept Obanau long enough, so I'm gonna bring him in too. And I know, and he doesn't even show his face, man.
He really does.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
I
Handsome
can do
guy
that.
like
It's
you.
just-
Come on. There you go.
Just my blank wall, and I'm still somewhat held up because I decided to go rock climbing. Well, take my son to rock climbing, and that did not help out my foot. So,
My nephew does a lot of rock climbing now. Now he's actually, when he was 19, he was on American Ninja Warrior.
oh, very good. Very
He
good.
actually teaches people, and he's sponsored as a rock climber now.
Well, you know what? I got to take back after hearing your story today from calling you David the Gnome back to Hunger the Siberian. That's what.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so let's go and jump right in. I'm gonna go clockwise with these questions, starting with the little guy, then Kai, then Hungar, then Omanau. Almost the order you guys came in, so that works out, and then we'll reverse it. So my first question.
If this question is good, everyone else is not going to get a chance to speak. I'm going to be talking for that long.
Okay. Oh, see. Not only is where'd he go? Not only is Hungar Siberian, he apparently he's a steampunk Siberian.
Oh yeah.
Man, that's exactly, man. That just so since the little guy disappeared, I'm gonna let you go first, Kai. What is it about sci-fi, or if you want to, focus it on like outer space, that really, gets your hair standing on edge? What's the thing about sci-fi that's easiest to get you scared?
Honestly, it's because of the simple fact that space is big and scary. It's the unknown. You don't know what you're going to encounter out there. It really is the fact that you're in an alien environment, because where humans are not supposed to go. We're not supposed to be in space. We're supposed to be on a planet with atmosphere. You're going to an alien world that evolved differently. You're going to see things, experience things that are going to be not what you were prepared for. You go in and it's just it's the weirdness. It's the madness that comes from it. You can either be simply the madness of just simply being with no one but 5-6 people for a long period of time. It could simply be a weird alien creature. It just is, space is scary, and it's a great start on how you. Because at least when you go with fantasy or traditional, you're just going to go, well, we have a history of this. No, you're going somewhere new, somewhere different. Someone that could be older than us, older than what we've ever been, and dealing with it. It's always about being unprepared, because you're going, how do you prepare for it? But that's just a way to start things off. So
Tears in the Rain.
Yeah.
I was just expecting you to go off when you just started with this. That just popped into my head, Kai. So that's why.
It's all right. I was trying hard not to do that speech. So
Roy Batty was one of the best characters in movie history.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. That ending was just unbelievable. The first time I saw it, that was I just couldn't I couldn't process it fast enough. It was just like, is this really happening? It was so poignant.
When I actually had a Facebook page that was on my profile that said ending, I've seen things you people
we'll never see.
Yeah. Let's see. What's scary about space? Okay. People mess up. We're screw ups. And we're in this Apollo 13, man. We're in this capsule. You never know what the heck's going to happen. Anything can kill you. You get a small leak and you don't notice it. You're going to asphyxiate. Anything can freaking kill you out there. And everything can kill you out there. We're in a foreign environment. We're not supposed to be there. We can't breathe. We're going to screw up. Somebody's going to screw up and put your hoe through the freaking wall. It's like people are dumbasses. And that's what scares me the most about, like, if I was going out into space, I'd be like, how stupid are these people? How likely are they to fuck up? Excuse the language. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I don't know what keeps happening with the little guy, but he's missing it. So hopefully
he wants to be last. That's what I think.
It's like, how likely are are these people going to mess up? It is like, yeah, I have to rely on other people.
A lot.
A lot. You got to rely on the people who build the ship. You got to rely on people who do the minutest things, the air hoses. Just any little bitty tiny thing could mess up at any time. And down here where we're, supposedly supposed to be, we've only got a sun that wants to kill us if we stay out in it, but we got to be in it to get vitamin D. But, we're going to get cancer if we're in it too long, But at least in an environment where we're supposed to be at, if we have you have you have an air leak in your car, a vacuum hose leak in your car. Your car's not going to run great, but it's not going to kill you. But that same thing in space, you're screwed. It's like we're not infallible enough, I think, to, start roaming around in space. That's me.
How about you, Owen?
I'm going to follow up on these two, and the fear of the unknown. And what's great is, and this is what we're all talking about on surface, which is always about the unknown, what's there, what dangers can occur. But I'm thinking about anyone that's been in any kind of ship or something, and it's the lack of resources or power. What do you do when the light goes out? And then you're going through stuff. It's those things. The other part is there's no escape. When you're in a ship, you can't just bail out. The best you can do is go onto a lifeboat and pray to God someone will find you. And of course, we got to talk about the classic, Alien aspect where, she goes over and to like, well, I'm going to life pod. They'll find me in a few weeks. 55 years later, that's, and I think those are the things that matter so much is if you go out there, or anyone that remembers the Babylon 5 when Sheridan blows up the Minbari ship. And they're sitting out there waiting for nothing. That's what's coming down. And you can ramp up that tension when you start going over what do you do when the lights are going off? Or the old Battlestar Galactica. Okay, now we've got lack of water and food. And what happens when someone that is critical, like your damage control or something, that goes out. Now you have a bunch of people that are untrained. And we have such classic things like, not that people mention as much, but fire. Fire does two things. One is it completely, there is no escape on the ship. you have to put it out. Number two is it's destroying your oxygen as well. And I think that, all of us can watch, if anyone remembers watching Das Boot.
Yes.
Oh God.
I mean, watching, you've got stuff in there, or the Forrestal carrier when it catches on fire, and we have all of these. I want to call it the World War II movies, which are great, and they can go in the forward space future movies, and then you can always ramp up by not just the regular unknown. You can throw in I want to call them, like, how like they have the fantasy monsters, where you're on a ship that has no power, no control, and you're praying someone will find you, but will they find you in time? And it's such classic stories for that you can take the basic nautical aspect, combine it some with the fantasy, like if you want Alien, the monster that's stalking you, along with like Hungar's talking about, oh, you have the little gas leak and your oxygen's running out. Now what? So that's what I think that's why I love sci-fi so much, is you can do that gritty aspect, or you can go to the pulp aspect, but it allows those dark, deep stories that you couldn't do unless you're going to be fair to be in a dungeon or something. But a spaceship is a dungeon in space, except there's nowhere to go.
There's no home.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only is there no home, it is your only home.
Yep.
When you're in a spaceship. And I mean, come on, you're going to be in there. And imagine, say it's just a whole family in a spaceship, right? There's going to have to be just such, a strict rules of the way you talk to each other, interact with each other, hierarchy and stuff like that. Because if it's like an anarchy, we're a democracy, but individuals are anarchies. When we're in a group, we're an anarchy, or we either have a leader or we have an anarchy.
And the other part is it doesn't matter. I mean, when you're talking about, looking at that classic Star Trek, when the engineer says that the engine's going to overload, he is the leader, period. Doesn't matter what the captain says in most cases, unless there's an external threat. That person now takes control. If all of a sudden your scientist is saying, we're running out of air and we have to fix it, that technician at that moment is the most important person. And it allows you to shift those roles around. And I think that makes a big difference, because, I can fly the ship. Okay, you're worthless. Go get me a beer. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
There's also another aspect that comes from when you're in an environment that sci-fi gives you, is the idea that no help is coming. You got to take care of it yourself. You got to do it. Because you mentioned like the Forrestal disaster where the ship was burning for 2 days. You couldn't and another comment was the space. Space is a dungeon that that there is no safe spot. You have to there isn't this moment for you to be a coward and say, I don't want to be here. I can't be here. I can't handle this. You're put into the situation where you can't freak out. Where horror is that point when you give up and you're too scared, and that it sets up the chance of you can be scared, you can be terrified. It can be horrible, but do you just sit there and die, or do you step up and do something actually heroic to overcome the fact that there's nowhere to go, there's no help coming, you have to push through, and that makes them a better story.
And even if you do freak out, you can only freak out for so long.
Yeah.
And then you have to compose yourself and move forward. And I think that's, I want to put it this way, because like every D&D character is like, my character's not afraid, and only if you have certain mechanics does that work otherwise.
Bullshit.
Well, afraid.
Well, I mean, that's the reality of certain things. But that's the whole point of it is, even, and I'm going to mention Alien because I think that works really well. And it's the Alien game does such a good job, and I haven't really looked at Mothership or some of the others, but you can watch as your oxygen starts dropping or things like that, which gives you that you have to move forward. But the other part is your character does panic, but they can recover. And now you still have to move forward. And I kind of like that aspect because it allows you to be heroic. I think the problem that all too often we look at is well, you're courageous. You're not courageous if you're not afraid. You're courageous. You have to face the fear.
Game over.
Yep. Well said, Omen. Well said.
I want to throw in a little bit here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Spaceship being the dungeon, being it's a prison. What happens if you get beef, like hardcore? There's people you can't stand on the ship. There's people who are just assholes, or a group of people that try to start running things and taking stuff from other people and shit like that. I mean, what was really to stop that on like a lot of these shows that people were in space, but it wasn't a military vessel? The only way that I think space travel would be able to run would be either a military vessel or a family situation, because you're not going to grab a bunch of strangers, throw them in a ship and say, hey, go colonize this planet. Because what's going to happen is somebody, whether there's a captain or not, is going to take over and try to become a dictator. It's human nature. People would rather have power than money. People who have power want more power.
I'm gonna bring it up a little bit different, because if we're gonna look at some of this is, it's like a pirate. We can elect the captain, but the captain is the final say. Once he's been elected. Now, if he does a terrible job, we'll throw you off and space you. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Mutiny on the bounty, man.
Yeah. Oh, especially when you start running out of food and stuff, and you go, you've been making bad decisions. I mean, boy, you can create that tension, and then that's. I will admit this much: is if anyone's looked at the Alien starter set, I think it does a fantastic job for setting up those agendas at the beginning when everything feels nice, but as things start spiraling out of control, everyone's agendas start tearing them apart, and you get one person trying to destroy the ship and another one that's trying to save everybody, and you're all at odds because you all have different agendas. I think that helps in certain games. I'm not saying you want to do that for a campaign, for definitely a cinematic one-shot. That does very, very well.
And you can look at something, say, to use a show as a different show as an example. Look at something like The Expanse, where the crew of the Rossi was literally 4 people who really didn't like each other at the start of it, or they had a background because they were all off the Canterbury. But I mean, Holden was just simply a guy who was on the ship. Amos was just picked because he was a good ship mechanic. I mean, everybody was on the ship via various things, but as the show progressed, you watched them become the family unit. Because at first they had the slight leftover from being crew of a previous ship, but they slowly became a family, and allowed them to overcome a lot of problems as the show and the book series progressed. So yeah, that was.
I agree. Well, the nice thing about Amos is, he was ready to shoot Holden on the spot. Just like, well, she says something, I'll just.
On multiple occasions. But Amos was also the first guy. To use Leviathan Wakes as an example, the first book. Yeah, Amos would. Would have shot pretty much anybody on that ship if he was told to, but he cared about the ship first. And
well, he was a true psychopath in my view. I mean, I hate saying that. And people like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, he was. He had no remorse or mercy. I warned you. That's what you get.
But the thing is that he was also he's a psychopath, but he's a very deep psychopath.
Yeah.
Like he was a functional psychopath.
I'm not saying that they aren't. I think that's just one of those that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just using it as an example, because he's probably one of the most deepest characters in sci-fi. I'd almost say is because the range that he can go from loyal to where he's been and where he ends is a better journey than most characters get.
Well, I think the other part is, and one of my favorite characters, you talk about The Expanse.
Yes.
What was his name? Which I liked him a lot. The pirate captain, not the one that
Johnson.
The old one.
Johnson.
No, you're talking about Johnson, which was black, and I'm talking about the white guy that was.
Oh, got him. Oh, God, I can't remember. Yeah.
You know where he was.
Yeah.
Where he was like, look, I'll stay off the side, and then he got killed by, I forgot their name. It sounds so bad. I forgot their names, but
Right.
But I like that character where he's going over and I not that I don't like Drummond. I think Drummond did a good job, but just that simple fact of, okay, we are going to space you, and there is that. Anyone that's played the Battlestar Galactica game or something, where you're
gotcha.
where you're the traitor, and they're like, okay, we're going in the airlock and we're going to space you because that's the safest thing to do. You can't cross these people. I think that's the thing that people forget about, unless you have your own death wish. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Galactica really. Galactica was another great example of the pressures of an environment where you don't have a support structure. You're on your own. You got to deal with it, and that one threw in another one where of the almost invasion of the body snatchers thing, where because of the skin jobs and because of the infiltrator problems, because of separatist dissidents, you didn't know who to trust, and that ramps up what made that one because an engaging horror story. Now, if they could have just added in a few more scary things, but the show was more for drama than it was for horror.
Jack, are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, until you get audio, we're still.
You're muted.
Apologies.
There we go.
No, I guess that just means you didn't hear that voice crack, which is good, I guess. So after a lot of technical difficulties, including that one, I am finally actually here. I don't know what happened. I said that I was going to be talking for like an hour, and then I immediately just left. I got kicked out. I don't know if he kicked me out or if the internet just broke and it just sent me out. It said, you have been disconnected as soon as I said that. So, yeah. Then I tried joining in a couple times, and it never worked. Joined in on my phone. Well, I didn't really do much there. And then I finally joined back in here for about an hour, and then I have to come back here to recharge it. So, yeah.
So what is it about sci-fi space, outer space, or being on a ship? What is it that really gets you? What scares you the most? Is it the aliens?
Well, no. The route I'm taking for sci-fi horror, because the current story that I'm working on, that I'm writing, could be described as sci-fi horror, is, I'd say, is different from most that I've seen, or at least that I've heard from. It's not you have humans that are going on some trip to establish some colonies, and then there's aliens that show up. You have this, the horror comes less from the fact that you're like alone trapped on a ship and there's like anything could go wrong here. There's nowhere for you to go. It's the fact that you are, and not necessarily you, but it's this expansive galaxy with several societies that are all supposedly united in this peaceful golden era. But because of the fact that it's all, I guess it's like this conspiracy, I guess, the government, the society is slowly devolving into complete chaos. People are like, morality is at an all-time low. The population of the entire galaxy, several alien races, are all starting to not necessarily like go back into this like old era, but what they're doing is they're kind of throwing out everything. And it's this thing that you have this entire galaxy, but you still have nowhere to go. You can hide from this civilization, from this new society, from the state, but you have this entire galaxy to go to. But no matter where you are, you still cannot hide.
Mm-hmm.
No matter which person you are, whether you're the former president or just some random soldier, there's nothing you can do. They're always going to know where you are, no matter which planet you hide on. It just depends whether or not they actually want to go looking for you yet.
So we're more like cattle.
Pretty much.
I can't imagine where he's been influenced by that for that.
Oh no, no idea.
CNN. No, I'm sorry. It sounds like modern news. No,
Okay.
That's what I was trying to be.
Yeah.
Allude to.
Early red dwarfs, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh God, is he in for a treat? Is he in for a treat when he gets that?
I haven't seen that much of it, but what I have seen doesn't make any sense.
Oh, it does make sense after you start watching them, get into them, and the novel
That is good.
phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. So for me, guys, what's the scariest thing about I guess space? And I hate to sound like Holly, but it's big and it's black and it's empty and it's cold. It's the coldest thing there is. It's just once you're out there in the black, you're all alone. It's all on you, man.
Has anyone? I'm going to bring something that's a little bit of a comedy. Has anyone watched Avenue 5?
Never even heard of it. But I better start taking notes, guys.
So what it is it's I mean, it's tongue in cheek, but they have this mad, what I want to call it. But it reminds me of is who's the guy that's head of Virgin Galactic and stuff. They take like that character, put him on a ship that's traveling the solar system, and then everything goes wrong, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So that's what I'm trying to say is, and they're like, well, what about this? And it just makes it that everything just goes bad as they're trying to keep everyone in control of the ship without complete panic and pandemonium. And I enjoyed it, but it is definitely you really have to like the British, very, very dry sense of humor.
Sounds like fun.
But yeah, but I can't say it's really that scary, except the fact that the question is would you rather be in space or have to deal with space Karen? I think, like, you know what? I'll go out into the depths of space just so I don't have to deal with this woman. So
now you're making me think of the Key and Peele where I looked my wife right in the eye and I said, "You said that to your wife?" Yeah, I said it to my wife. I'm the man.
You said what? I didn't hear what you said. What did you say to your wife?
They whisper it on the skit. Was like, bitch.
Oh, okay, got you.
And then they're like in the basement of the house, and then they're hiding in a tree out in the yard, and then they're in the middle of a field talking about their wife said that to their wife, and then the next thing you know, they're on a space shuttle, and then it's like I looked her right into her eye socket, and I said, and then they look around, and then you see one of them in a spacesuit, actually spacewalking. He's like, I said, bitch. Like you said that to your wife. You gotta, if you've never seen that is a very funny skit from those idiots.
I mean, but there's so much in it. Well, I think part of it, like Shadow's talking about, you don't know what's there, but man, anyone that's been in an old warehouse or anything, or even if you've been on a ship, that when there's no one there, you can't. If the lights go out, you're screwed.
Oh my god, I love that. One of the local haunted houses here is built in an old paintball range and there's two ways to get into the haunted house, and there's the easy, safe way, and then there's the walk through a blackened warehouse full of pallets.
Yeah,
and they have a guy with a chainsaw in there, and it's like, oh my, like it's literally fine feeling your way through the dark, and that part's the first year I did it, I was like, oh, obviously this was the haunted house, and they're like, no, that was the walkway in. Like, oh fuck.
How about going into a cave and turning off your flashlight?
Oh, I've done that one too, and it's no thanks.
That's terrifying.
It is.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and then of course you start hearing. Well, and the funny thing is I guess everyone's talking about horror. It is the making something familiar and then turning something off. Like it's just like being at home. If you suddenly hear the hum of things, and everything always hums, and you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then all of a sudden the humming stops. You're like, uh-oh, and especially like that. And then you have emergency lights, and they go, you have 12 hours until all the lights go out, and then you're like, oh crap, and what do we do now? That's why I call it a giant space dungeon, because exactly like that. If you go down in the cave and you turn out your light, you see nothing, and not, especially if you're on an old cargo ship. Not that I really don't want, but you look at them, you can understand how those guys can get lost down there. You go through, you have to. Oh yeah. Now you hear cargo, and then what happens if something gets on board and you start hearing something? You're like, oh crap. Well, especially even if it's just rats, but you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So for my next question, guys, just keeping it nice and friendly. I want to see what scene from TV or movies was the scariest scene for you guys. Jackie, you get to go first this time.
Okay, what scene from TV or movies, sci-fi, that was scariest? You already know.
Yeah. Well, maybe they don't.
Okay, so you know that movie we reviewed with Connell?
Yes, the God that gives me such. Tell him.
You know Fire in the Sky, correct?
Yes.
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but yeah.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Oh, man, you have got to check it out. It has got one of. It's an absolutely wonderful movie. Jackie, take it from here.
I'm kidding. No, that's not actually the scariest scene. The scariest scene was the one where Jason goes to space. No, I haven't seen that one. But yeah, it's the scene where the aliens have kidnapped the guy, and needle goes into his eye.
Has anybody here seen that movie yet?
I just hate the thought of anything getting near my eyes.
I'm the same way.
I won't wear contacts because I'm not going to touch my eyeball.
Same here. Yeah. Same here. Have you ever seen it, Kai?
Last time.
A while back ago, but not recently.
Oh, it's a really good human story until the end. You're thinking, UFO abduction, the whole bit, Travis Walton,
yeah.
And then it's a really touching story about, just normal people in the 70s. And I remember, growing up as a kid, I remember when that was like news, that was on like Channel 4, Channel 7 news. It was like, this is like kind of like, real to me as a kid. I'm like, this is on the news. I mean, the news is, the truth, I was like 7 years old, and so, that is literally what got me into, reading about UFOs and all that stuff. And then to see this movie, oh God.
You spent like all of your money on Ancient Aliens DVDs.
Shots fired. I have 4 seasons out of 10 or 12. That's hardly. I have way more money than that, Sport.
Not when you bought them.
That's true, huh? Yeah, he's got a point. No, but I've talked about Ancient Aliens before. This isn't the time or place. Maybe at the end of the show. It's mostly because I like the weird concepts of what could.
You believe that aliens are the real religion, and aliens.
No. That's
why.
No.
That's the secret. Is he actually believes that aliens are responsible for everything? Like literally everything that's happened in human history is because of aliens. And he's trying to.
Can't you see my hair doing the thing? You see my hair doing the thing? Giorgio, what the hell is his last name? I don't know. Okay, Owen, you're up. Scary scene.
The problem is that for me, I think one of the scariest scenes from there, and actually, and I mean, I really enjoy it, and I'm not even going to say it's necessarily that scary for everything, but if anyone remembers an Alien, where the captain is going down with the flamethrower, and all of a sudden, I should remember all their names. That's so terrible. But all of a sudden, they're saying it's coming, it's freaking you out, and you watch it moving as it blips going towards him, and she's the one, because she's panicking. He moves into an area that allows him to be caught. I mean, I think there's part of that whole aspect, which is Lambert. Where Lambert's panicking and screaming, "Run, run!" And instead of sitting there and saying, "Okay, which direction?" She's coming across. I think that there's that aspect, and part of it is you can't see. You've got a flashlight. You're all alone. You're chasing something you probably shouldn't be chasing anyway. I don't care what anyone says. It's like going after a bear with a knife in your teeth. You're like, "What am I doing?" And I think that there's that aspect. Though I will say as much: anyone that's ever played Alien Isolation can really feel that tension going as it keeps going further and further up. But I think there's that aspect. So that's mine.
Hungar?
I gotta kick it to the original Alien movie. They're hanging out, eating. Next thing you know, aliens busting out Omi's chest. I mean, I was born in '73. I wasn't that old when that movie came out. And that scared the shit out of me. It was like, this dude's eating and the alien just ripped out of his chest. Then it's going to get big and kill everybody. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, ah! It was like, aliens.
I mean, I have to be careful, because what I think is a great scene versus what would actually terrify me. I think the fact, like you're talking about, and it doesn't translate well into movies when you start running out of food and water. I mean, a perfect example would be a little bit different, but it's not on a ship. Is anyone watching The Thing after they've blown it up? And
Yes.
they're in Antarctica just sitting outside. Like, is one of the aliens? Would it really matter? They're going to die anyway. And that's, that. But I think that comes back to your mind doing, creating the horror more than what you're seeing there.
You just made me remember something. I can't think of the name of the damn movie. And it's very sci-fi. It had
Event Horizon?
No, where they're looking for the guy's wife. They think that the guy's wife was killed, and she's like a freaking clone or something. I think it was Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio or something was in the movie. And,
Oh yeah, I used to have a crush on her.
And the guy who played Lieutenant Dan, I think, was in the movie, and he worked for the government. And so he's trying to prove that she's not a clone. And in the end, it ends up that they're both freaking clones. And you see a giant explosion, and it wipes out like a whole city.
Mm.
And I mean, I got to look up that damn movie.
Yeah, I don't reckon that movie does not sound familiar at all.
Luckily, I have a computer I can carry around in my pocket.
While you do that, how about we go over to Kai and see his favorite scene?
Honestly, when it comes to scenes, I really don't have one scene that scares the hell out of me, but I will always look at one of my favorite horror movies, which really is, you guys mentioned it for a second, Event Horizon.
I had a feeling.
Hey, it's the prototype for Warhammer 40K's The Warp. It's Hellraiser in space, which is the whole reason why I had to go pull down the cube and play with it, because well, the part where you find the warp core, that was literally the singularity drive that opened the gate to hell. and it was always building up to it. And the fact that it really was Hellraiser in space, and fuck, that was a terrifying movie. Part of it might be the simple fact that when I went in to go see it, it was a bright and sunny day, and when I walked out, it was nighttime and with a storm going. Kind of helped cement the horror of that movie. And yes, I do like some visceral horror at times. So yes.
I meant to watch it while it was on Amazon for free, and I just didn't.
It's honestly one of those movies where nowadays, the effects are fantastic, but it is at times a bit cheesy because, well, you're watching a slasher flick in space that has some serious fucking body horror. It's got some serious. I said, if you like Hellraiser, this is definitely the movie to watch. And it's good. It really is good. And like I said, it would go on to inspire a lot of people to do a lot of things.
I always liked that aspect, which when Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader came out, and it was a small miniature skirmish game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact of when they used to have like vampires and stuff, and talking about things coming through the warp, while you're traveling through warp space.
Yep, the Geller fields, which you need to not die in that. And yes, I love Rogue Trader. It's because it's a really good game, but it is.
Yeah, it was.
I nowadays I'm not little side tangent, unfortunately, which was the 5 parsecs from home. Sound interesting. We can use anything. It's like, here you go. This is good for anything. But I'm just not. Anyway, sorry about that.
No problem.
I found the movie, and the name of the movie was Imposter. It came out in 2001. And it was Madeline Stowe.
Oh.
And Gary Sinise. And Vince
Yeah. I've never seen it.
Oh, dude, it's a really good film. I mean, it's the guy, he's got a perfect life, loving family and everything like that. And then, bam, shit starts happening and it just goes downhill. He's got to do everything to prove that his wife's not freaking some kind of clone science. It's very sci-fi. So he's trying to do like body scans on his wife and everything to prove that she's real. And it ends up that they're both. I mean, dude, you just it's scary as hell.
Okay.
And it make you think. It's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie before M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
Is that what a twist?
I like the good twists.
So for me, this is going to sound maybe not so scary to you guys, but do you remember in Firefly when what was her name? Gina Torres's character was explaining to the I believe it was Simon and his sister explaining about the Reavers. Yes.
Where she says you want them to kill you and then rape you and then eat you, and preferably in that order.
If you're lucky, they'll do it in that order.
Yes.
They'll kill you, rape you, and eat you. That just every emotion just went, oh my God. That is just
sorry. The Reavers never got justice until Serenity. And I was great thing that and I'm glad they made the movie to at least close it out. But I just want to strangle whoever was at Fox, because that movie was just an idiot.
They screwed the season up. They weren't running it in order or anything. Fox.
They did everything they could because they knew how good it was. It's one of those cases where it was too good they couldn't do anything to control it, so they had to destroy it. They couldn't, inject whatever it was they were trying to inject into it, the whole bit. But there was also one episode where that guy starts to try to turn himself into a Reaver. And that was pretty gruesome too. That was a nice, foreshadowing of what was to come later on in the movie. And that, it ties into with, my answer to the other question, because that's what happens to people when they're stuck out in the black for too long. They just freaking lose it.
Well, I think the other part was, and they never really got into it, but I think it was that the Reavers exposed people to what they had so they could get more Reavers, which I thought was very interesting. Was, they talk at the beginning, but, he says, well, he's turning into a Reaver. Yeah, but that meant the Reavers had to do something to him to make him do it. It wasn't just what he saw. Because they all talk about that drug that they gave him, where it caused a lot of them just to fall over and die and do nothing. Mm-hmm. But then it caused
the packs. The packs.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was one of us that was coming into my mind, but I went, well, is that really that much of a scary scene? But like you said, the horror's in the mind. It isn't necessarily visual.
Yeah, exactly. And just the matter of fact way she was able to just say it and just make you just go, oh my God, I don't want to be in this skin right now. So speaking of horrible creatures, because that proved what horrible creatures we all could become out there in the black. What's your favorite sci-fi? And it doesn't have to be outer space, but what is the creature, monster, life form, whatever you want to call it, that just to this day still creeps you out the most? But did I start with you, Kai, yet?
You did.
Did you get so? Hungar, you get to go first.
Which one creeps me out the most?
If it just to this day still scares you.
Oh, jeez.
For me, it's an easy one. It's so easy.
For me, it's easy. I don't know if it counts.
Alien. The alien from Alien. Or aliens. They're killing machines with acidic blood. So even if you're able to harm them and they spatter blood on you, it's still going to mess you up. I mean, I always go back to aliens because, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I mean, unless I want to go with like Chaos from 40K. I mean, that's scary as hell too. Chaos Demons from 40K. That's very sci fantasy, but aliens from Alien. I mean, they're perfect killing machines with acidic blood. So they're going to mess you up. And even if you block their big mouth, their little mouth is going to shoot out and try to bite you. I mean, what the hell?
Sorry, you just made me think of that Family Guy episode. My little mouth's going to get you.
Yeah. It's like these things are literally the things of nightmares.
Wait a minute. So Hungar, I was listening to a Free League discussion with Andrew Gasca, who's the writer of the RPG, or he does a lot of the stories in there. And they asked him, what crossover would you like to do? He said, I would have loved to have done an alien thing crossover. And the reason that the aliens had acid blood was to protect themselves from the thing, mutating yourself. Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was a really cool idea.
That's a good one, Mar Hawkman. That's a really good one. Mm-hmm. Close to my answer, but still no cigar.
I don't know who's next.
You are, Omen.
Okay.
I'm going to try to keep going clockwise.
Has anyone seen the movie Virus?
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
About the basically, it had Jamie Lee Curtis, and they were on a ship, and it gets taken over, and it starts taking over both the people and the structure of the ship itself. And it's I highly recommend that one for because it starts putting like tendrils and things into the ship, so it can start controlling it and starts putting the people. It would be very similar to what was that one, Saturn 7 or whatever that was called?
Saturn 5?
Yeah, Saturn 5, where the where the robot starts coming over, except this is an alien virus that comes in that starts taking over the robots, and then the robots start adding like human pieces to them and things like that. So Kai knows it, but
Oh yeah. Then again, I like watching a lot of horror movies. Dear God, do I watch horror movies? Like I said, there's a reason why I own 2 puzzle boxes. For God's sake.
I don't watch horror movies.
Oh.
I watch the news. That's enough horror normally.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with Omen right now. I mean, I'm trying to get into the spirit, and hopefully tomorrow, if we're lucky, we'll get to watch something. And I'm taking down notes from you guys, but I think I'm gonna force the little guy to watch my pick or my answer for the next one. But until then, Jackie, what's your night?
I need to ask you first, because what do you mean by sci-fi? Because my answer, I'm not entirely sure if it fits.
You know what? Just give your answer, and then we can all, pile
Okay,
on.
so I know for a fact the scenario is actually terrifying. It could be. It could be. I haven't looked into it that much, but of what I've heard, it definitely could be.
Which one?
The Grey Goo? You don't know what that is?
No.
Yes.
It's Promethean? Or are you talking about the nanites?
No. No, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but Grey Goo. Okay, I just looked it up and it gave me Grey Goose vodka. This is brilliant. Okay, so yeah, kind of nanotechnology. Like, I'll simplify it. Like eating everything. It's I don't know. Kai could probably explain it better. But
okay. You're looking at like what's described as often as a von Neumann machine, or the idea the paperclip apocalypse, or the Grey Goo event. The idea that you create a machine or nanites that are ordered to assemble something, whatever it is. This is why one example is used as paper clips. The idea that the nanites go rampage and rogue and start to break down everything to follow their programming, which is to either create more of themselves, the Grey Goo event, or to create more. Create more of itself to continue to replicate and go out into the galaxy. The von Neumann probe going rogue, or the paperclip event, where it's just supposed to be rearrange all reality to make more paperclips, then move on to the next world to make more paperclips until the entire galaxy isn't nothing more than paperclips. And yeah, so a Grey Goo event is an apocalyptic event where something goes rogue and kills everything to reproduce itself endlessly.
Yeah,
that's pretty
scary.
terrifying.
That's scary.
Okay, Kai, how about yours?
I didn't say mine.
Oh, okay. I thought that was your. Okay, what's yours, Spark? Sorry.
Yeah, though that
he gets 2 for 1.
No, I read the comment and I said I don't know much about the Grey Goo stuff, but yeah, that would be. No, mine is this thing called. I know you've heard me talk about this a lot because it's like all I talk about right now, but this. I'll use the official-ish name, which is the Muse. If you know who Alex Bale is, you're going to know. And Shadow, yes, I talk about this all the time, so just kind of be quiet. I'll explain what it is as in I don't know because the story hasn't gotten there yet. But so far it seems that this creature, this alien, demon, whatever it may be, infiltrated this company and started spreading itself because it was a farming company, and it's just this struggling farming, basically one farm pretty much, and they were struggling, but this alien creature came down and started manipulating like the entire world to get this company to gain more profits and become this massive media thing where there are movies being made, there are commercials. They are starting to infiltrate other organizations, and what they do is they send this creature, which is just has no. I mean, the company says mother, but that's just because it is the mother of all the children, which are sent out to several people to then take control of them and force them to produce either like media to get people convinced into joining this cult-ish organization company. And I'm explaining it in without going into the actual story too much, but they influence these people and get them to start spreading their message until at what is supposedly a symbiotic relationship where the person is gaining riches or fame or whatever it is that they want, and the creature is gaining food. But in reality, it's just the creature using this person to spread its propaganda into the world, also get food in the process until eventually it gets big enough and strong enough to create a clone of that person and eat them or do something with them. And then with that clone, they then go around doing the same thing, but a lot more efficiently until some event is supposed to happen where all these clones come back together, back to the mother organism, and sort of reabsorb back into it and create a new world order type scenario.
Yeah.
But
So-
I can't really
so
describe it much
present
better
day.
without like spoiling the entire story.
So present day with like the government.
Yeah, pretty much. Just instead it's aliens and a farming company.
Yeah.
Also, they're mutating their animals using the DNA of this alien to feed back to it. So they're like taking DNA samples, injecting them into animals like cows, pigs, all the animals in their farm, as well as their employees and people that go against them, like journalists and government employees that find out what they're doing. They kidnap them, inject them with this alien DNA, and then feed them to the alien.
Oh, geez.
But that's what they're doing on the side, pretty much.
That's kind of like V.
Ooh, that was a good show.
Yeah, that's horrifying, man.
Okay, Kai, what you got for us?
I just want to say that I wanted to say for a moment that They Live was like an amazing movie.
Yeah,
So-
it was.
But let's see. Single scariest alien?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to actually kind of go with something that most people would actually call silly. But when you start thinking about I'm going to actually kind of pull from Doctor Who here. Classics. And the two that I can't decide which one I actually would fear. The prototype for what would come later with the Borg, also known as the Cybermen, or the Daleks themselves, are two that I actually would dread to ever actually have to encounter. I don't like the idea of a time-traveling race that wants to annihilate everything. Okay, that works for me. And the more you think about them, the more you realize how terrible they really are. The implications of them as you think about them.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
Mhm.
I can deal with an alien out there or a shape changer, but how do you stop a time-traveling alien that hates at you because you live? That's it.
That is hardcore.
And the fact is that Cybermen get you the Borg effect, which is you're going to be upgraded, you're going to become part of them, you're going to be, congratulations, you're now part of the hive. And the Daleks are simply, how do you stop this?
Hey,
You
finally-
beat them, they change. They change.
Stairs.
Remake series, they can hover. I
know.
But the thing is like they improve. Both of these villains improve. They evolve. You beat them, they're going to encounter them later somewhere else. It's an inevitability of death at that point, unless you're special and an alien who can time travel. But for the most people, it's death.
Yeah, the Borg. I say something about the Borg. What was the Borg woman's name on the Next Generation? Or whatever?
7 of 9.
7. Yeah, if I can have a 7 of 9, sign me up.
But the thing is that
Yeah.
no, you're probably not gonna get that.
If the Borg chicks look like that, I'm down. Let's go.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. Anytime you actually hooked up with her, So would everybody else.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very fun to me.
So it would be, the village.
Everybody would be watching.
Florida.
Yeah, pass.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
But the collective is also. But the Borg is another alien that you don't want to encounter. That is, on a societal level, a terror-inducing creature that you're going. Because it's not one creature; it's a concept, and it's the loss of individuality. It's the loss of what makes you you. Do you really want to submit to that? I would almost prefer to die from a death ray than to endure that.
And I wanted to mention, Kai, when you're talking about these Cybermen, that David Tennant episode with all the ghosts standing around everywhere until they finally revealed themselves, that was incredible.
That was good.
That was scary the whole time, creepy, and then boom, here you go, cliffhanger.
Yeah, I said, as much as that show's silly, there were some great episodes that make you kind of go, I don't like that. That was kind of horrible. Much like the horror. You can go on for hours into just various stories that were actually good, and then realize that there's a certain point where you stop paying attention. Cool.
So for me, guys, I'm going to go really, really old school. Since I'm the oldest guy here, but I'm going to go with Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Okay, little guy's not seen it. Black and white, simple as hell, but oh my God. Even the color versions, that came after with Donald Sutherland. Oh, man.
That was Puppet Masters, the Robert Heinlein, which was the same thing. Terrifying. You get a creature on you that's going to take over your whole body, but you're conscious. So you're doing what the creature tells you to do, but you're conscious, but you can't do shit about it because you got to do it. You just, thanks for the nightmare, Shadow.
Hey, that's what it's all about. Just trying to share. I'm glad I got you guys, because that one, my old man was at least nice enough to have me watch it during the day. But I'd come home from school and it'd be like, Channel 5, turn it on, watch the movie. This would be like right after school. As soon as I walk in the door, he'd be like, check this out. It'd be Planet of the Apes or Soylent Green or something like that. I didn't know what the hell to expect, but boy, I'm glad I got to watch them, even with commercials. And if I could watch a movie right now with the little guy, that would be it. I'd turn out the lights, make up some popcorn, and we just sit there and just experience. Because for me, it's not just because I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan, but so many things in black and white were just so well done, so well written. It's almost like all the distractions are taken away, except just pure focus on what it is. And we so many people just will not absolutely will not touch black and white with their little eyeballs, and
that's a shame.
And Christmas is coming up. We always watch the Christmas episode of the Twilight Zone, and every time, man, that chokes me up more than anything I can think of. At that episode, it's just wow. So let me catch up with the chat here, guys, because I was babbling. Yep, Cal, you got me. You got me. You win. You're the old guy now. And if you want, you're welcome to join in. I'll throw in the link. We're just over the halfway point. I never read Puppet Masters, but that's Heinlein?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
And you can also listen to the audiobook if you want to on YouTube for free.
That's probably what I'll do, just because lately it's been so much easier to do that than to than to go looking. We have no bookstores near me. I mean, literally nothing.
And a lot
And
of the older Heinlein books are getting really hard to find, and if you find them, they want a lot
yeah,
for them.
yeah, and if you go online and you're looking for a paperback book, you will pay like $25 now because they know you want that one book. But if you're smart, you'll remember this tip I'm going to lay on you guys. If you're ever looking for a book, look for lots of books, like a pile of 6 books by an author, because that seller just wants to get rid of a chunk of books out of his collection and isn't going to ask the $25 per book. He'll usually ask $25 for the lot of books. And so for like $30, I've picked up 8 books, instead of paying each book at a time. And sometimes I'll get doubles, like when I was looking for Edgar Rice Burroughs books, I'd buy just stacks, people's stacks of books. And then I'm going, oh, okay, I got a couple of extras here. And then you can go put them on eBay or whatever, or hand them off to a friend, or save them, for when you finally, ruin that book because it's, 40 years old and falling apart, but I'll tape my books up. I don't care, if it ruins the value, just because, I don't know about you guys, but the nearest bookstore to where I live is over 100 miles away.
I couldn't imagine.
I know it.
I couldn't sell a book. I'd rather give a book to somebody so they could enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make a profit. I find a lot of books. Luckily, here in Florida, we got a lot of old people. I mean, we're in Florida, and garage sales, man, yard sales. I found a complete collection of the Mars books at a yard sale, and I'm like, hell yeah. I was reading John Carpenter for a week. I found a bunch of Highland books that I forgot that it even written.
Do you know that even the thrift stores like Goodwill and Salvation Army, they no longer keep books in the building. They only sell them online now because they know they can just do the research, look up the book, see how much it's worth, and put it in their store and leave it there till some sucker comes along and pays $30 for a used book.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous with Goodwills and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And I used to live across the street from a bookstore, and I would go there literally every day. Sometimes the lady who owned the bookstore would call me, and mind you, I was Jack's age, and she would call me and say, "Hey, someone just brought in a bunch of sci-fi books. I'm letting you know. Come on over." And I could literally walk, 50 yards across the street, and I'd be right there. That's how I got my Amber Chronicles. She saved that box set for me, going, "You're gonna love this." And I was having asthma attacks really bad to where I could barely make it across the street. I just gotten back from the hospital, and I was, barely able to get across the street and back. And then I sat for like a week just laying on the couch, just trying to breathe. And I read that series, and I was hooked. And then years later, I got to actually meet Roger Zelazny, and we became, more or less, friends for the short time that he was around after that point.
Amber's so good.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait till the little guy reads it. So for the last half of the show, I want to talk about if you guys were going to start up. If you guys were going to start up a sci-fi horror, even if it's just a one shot, what would you tell the players to invite them in to get them? What would be your sales pitch? What would be your story? Anybody want to go first? Volunteers on this one?
I want to go second, maybe third.
I will go first because after this I got to bounce. They're going to be
okay.
Get me meds. I get my last thing in.
No worries, man.
I'd be like, "Hey, knuckleheads, come over to the house. We're going to play a game," and then I'd spring on them. I'd be like, "We're going to play, aliens. You guys get to be, the freaking galactic Marines. Make your characters. Let's go see." The only thing you could do, like Sunji said, the best plan, take off and nuke them from space. But yeah, I'd run, I'd get my hands on a copy of the Aliens book, or maybe run Cthulhu in space. I think that would be great. So everybody got to go crazy on a spaceship and try to kill each other because they had nothing else to do. That's what I would do. But easy for me, I'd be like, hey, knuckleheads, I'm going to run a game. Who wants to play?
Okay,
that works.
That definitely is probably the best way to do it if you're running a sci-fi horror game is to not tell them until they get there.
Well, yeah, that's the answer I was going to give. Is simply, hey, I'm running a sci-fi game. Make characters. What do you make a crew? What are we going to do? You're going to find out, and you hit them with it. It's honestly that's it. Because the problem is, a lot of us tend to go with, here, I'm going to run a horror campaign. Congratulations, you've already spoiled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to spring it on them.
Yeah, because horror's best when you walk into it and get a natural reaction. I mean, yeah, it's more fun watching somebody go, oh fuck, we're way in over our heads. Yes, you are, and then see how they react.
I'm going to bounce out of the show, but I'm going to be watching.
All right.
Okay.
I got to watch you guys. Shadow, man, I watch your stuff all the time.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing something from you. Other than you, where you're at. I know it's all for the best, but
you and your son, I love your interaction, bro.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys, you all have
a great weekend, guys. You too. You too, man. Such a great guy. You guys too, but us old guys, we got to stick together. So okay. Oh man.
Yes, we see.
Well, I saw that, but you know what? A minute ago, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Owen.
Sorry. You know what? I'm going to put it this way. All I have to do is say alien, and I get enough players that are willing to do it. They don't have to know what's going to get involved. They know it's a horror game immediately. They know it's in there, but most of them have never played it. And I've had several of my friends go, let's play this game. Okay, but it may not be what you kind of expect, but it's probably going to be short-lived. And the modules for there, I think, do a very good job for the one-shot. They're pretty in-depth. At least the starting module, I think, is very good with the Chariot of the Gods. Because even when players kind of know things, they don't know what's really going on, which always helps. But I think that's easy enough. I think it would be harder to get one of the Mutant Chronicles in there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that for a second. That game, while it's a sci-fi game, if you guys know about Mutant Chronicles, and but that is one of the most horrifying games I have ever played. The Dark Legion, when you really understand what's going on with those guys, oh my God, that was just so well done. The lore for that game back in the day, there was nothing like it except, Alien and Space Marines, obviously come to mind, but their take on horror, oh dude, I am so jealous. But I've got the originals.
Well, that's true. Well, I got this. This is the 2D20 stuff, which I know. But what gets me about this is that this was when they were trying to do their clearance. So each of these books, like this one, was like $1.25.
Dude, you won gaming, dude. You won. I mean, that is. I would pay full price for most of those. That's how much I love that franchise.
This is I like the artwork's done pretty well. I'll be honest, it kind of turned me off when they were about ready to lose the license. They went on sale, and I was just flipping through, and then I just notified everybody. And I think there was only one that wasn't in there, but I think altogether $40 for 15 books. Like, look, I can't buy paper this cheaply, for printing.
I know.
And I know that they had to get rid of it from the warehouse, but I just reading through bits and pieces of it, it looks really interesting. It's one of those that I haven't really looked at it, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing is the usual question of lore. Well, Wesley, yeah, I mean, I don't know I've got my Conan stuff over here, but I think a lot of it is I haven't played Mothership or Delta Green either. I think that it helps for certain ones, but the one thing I do like about at least what they do in Alien is there are multiple characters, and if your character dies, the GM gives you another one to play until the final act for the most part. And I think that makes a big difference because that's the one thing I've talked about is I hate having players that will just sit around doing nothing for a couple hours, especially if it's in real life. But I want them engaged the entire time. Okay, your character dies. Let's give you another one, and now you have a whole new agenda. And I think that makes a big difference. They've done that well. But yeah, those are the things that I would look at for anyone that was going to do it. But horror, man, it's just like Call of Cthulhu because it gets everyone in the mindset immediately. I don't like to throw them in there because I had a friend that used to do that. We almost always knew he was going to throw us in Ravenloft. And I'll say this much: halfling bards do not work well in Ravenloft for keeping the tone. So you want the players to get involved in that too, because like, what are you going to play? I'm going to play a halfling thief acrobat. And my friend's like, yeah, I'm going to do this one over here. And so, yeah, it became a joke for his game, and he wanted the dark, horror aspect. It doesn't quite work out that way. And I feel the same way with, if you put the Marx Brothers into Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I really find it hard to believe that people are ever actually anything other than mildly amused when playing Call of Cthulhu. It's like you might as well say, I mean, there's nothing more I think you could do to make them less afraid than tell them they're playing Call of Cthulhu. As scary as those books were back in the day, even for me as a kid in the 70s, and even if I read them now on, if I go out on the back porch like little guy was, especially this time of year where it's getting cold, I'm out there having a cigarette and reading one of his poems or something, and I get that chill and that feeling. The game itself, it's like, it's the exact opposite because it's not like the books where you also know, but it's supposed to be, I think, a more intimate, experience. You and H.P. Lovecraft, and that's it. His words to your mind and your imagination, and that's where real fear comes in. But when you're playing a game and you got people sitting around chips and rolling dice and stuff, it's just like it's the hardest genre, I think, to actually really pull off and get people scared. However, I know, and a little guy will probably back me up. When we played Call of Cthulhu, he and I we did a review of it last year around this time. When we played Call of Cthulhu, we literally played the game with the lights out. We had one little fake candle light in the room at the dinner table, and we only turned on the cell phone or something brighter to actually roll dice in a bowl so that there was no distractions except for the ambient music he picked out, which was fantastic.
It wasn't ambient. It was Everywhere at the End of Time, which if you know that, you know it. If you don't, it's a 7-hour album, so go listen to it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring this up because I just played a Call of Cthulhu with the Ye Old Geek about a week ago, and I hate saying it's just like watching a lot of the movies nowadays. They don't scare me, but the idea of them has these deep implications, which is what I like. I understand, like you said, it's a horror game. I'll be honest, I probably laughed more in Call of Cthulhu listening to them do their banter back and forth than I have in normal D&D games. But some of that's to break the tension. But like my character in particular, new things were growing in her. and she was beginning to watch these little spiders and stuff. And some people, I don't know, maybe it's just me because I've become so kind of jaded, especially as you watch more and more horror movies. I mean, when I was Jack's age, I think every Saturday I probably watched 4 hours of horror movies on Saturday and Sunday. And then I might watch the old black and white, including some weird Japanese, horror, ghost stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of terrified me at that point. But as I got older, I'm like, no, it's not the same, but the idea of it still comes up. And I said, okay, that's what I enjoy. And that's for me why I like some of these deeper implications for it. So I can remain in character as my character's being afraid, but me on the outside, I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. But we play games to have fun and to be with friends. And I think it does.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does well as long as everyone's on the same page. There's no one worse than that says that they're going to decide to destroy the mood for everybody, and you're just like, you're just being a jerk.
Yeah, like I said, when the little guy and I were playing Call of Cthulhu, it was his first time, and this was like I said, it was a year ago, and it was my first time running Call of Cthulhu in decades, and I really, I tried to do the voices, and I tried to, come up with something that was totally a unique monster. I didn't use any reference material. I just came up with something, and it was a lot of fun, and I could see and feel that it was, it was better when we were, basically cutting off our own, eyes, so to speak. We couldn't see anything. It was just, the audio experience. And, I know that's impossible to get a group of people sit around a table to do it. But if I was to go online and do it, there would be nothing on the screen. And I tell everybody, turn out your freaking lights, keep your tablet on or your laptop or whatever. Go ahead and keep that on, if you want to. But, I would, implore them to turn out the lights and really immerse themselves in it. If you really want to get scared,
I mean,
what was that? What did you say, buddy?
I said turn the brightness on the computer to 0.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the thing you can do.
I'm gonna. I mean, playing with the EL Geek, and I did in the morning because he's 6 hours ahead.
Right.
Now, to be fair, we were all doing stuff during the day, and the real point of it was, in his forget me not, was you were slowly being devoured from the inside. So, sometimes that works really well. Not everything has to be at night, because it's not the monster that you're afraid of; it's what you're afraid you're becoming. But I agree
absolutely.
He did it really well. I enjoyed it. I'll be honest, I never laughed so hard in certain things that they were saying. But it was great in doing it, and you try not getting involved too much. But I do like horror for that, because I can understand from a conceptual standpoint how would my character feel. But I don't know how Chimerian feels about this, because Kai, you've been real quiet.
Oh, I've been waiting. I've been really honest to let everybody else talk, because I've been enjoying it. I'm also, because of the fact that I know that I am two games that I really enjoy playing and running, but I haven't run much anymore. But when you have the right group that can get immersed into it and not break it, are great games. I love playing Delta Green, which is just Government Abuse Simulator 2000, or Call of Cthulhu in the modern day, MIB with monsters instead of aliens, or you can play Dark Heresy, the game of playing the Inquisition.
Oh, that's a good one. I have to admit.
And Dark Heresy, when it's run right, like you can run it silly. Like if you have a bunch of people who don't get into the feel of being, this is the Imperium of Man, we're all totalitarian, blah blah. You make the jokes, you get the memes out of your system for a bit, and then you realize what you're actually up against. And when you get people who are actually embracing the game, it becomes a lot better. Like way more than just simply roll dice, kill things. When you're playing Call of Cthulhu or Delta Green or SCP, you got to realize that part of it is simply the walk into the unknown. where you get a report of, hey, something bad's happening in sector G14. Well, okay, we go to G14 and you're now investigating. You're entering into an environment that's just different and odd. People like you're now if the GM is doing it right, he's feeding you into your paranoia. He's feeding you facts, and you're trying to like piece together the threat. And when things start to be a little different, try to explain that weird shadow that you see in the corner of your eye sometimes, and you try to look at it, it's gone, and then you slowly try to work in the perils of the warp, weird corruption, the outsiders. The elder sign from Cthulhu, scraped into the woodwork. A madman who's gibbering about things that don't make sense, and of course, we on the outside as players can go, okay, is this the King in Yellow that we're about to go up against? Are we about to encounter a Shoggoth? Are we encountering, deep ones, or are we encountering is that person who's mutated over there? Is he because of a chemical spill and degenerative, or is there some kind of weird new threat? And the best part about playing those games is that if your GM is creative, he's going out there and digging into all of the creepypastas that are out there on the internet, finding the weird new theory. We go in and it's like, oh, we're playing Call of Cthulhu. We're just going to encounter a Cthulhuoid monster. Until you realize that, no, your GM for this game has decided to steal from other fantasy. You go in going, I already know what I'm going into, and then they turn the tables on you, and now it's new, it's scary, it's different, it's the atmosphere. And if you break character, it ruins the atmosphere. And if your GM breaks, so horror storytelling and horror gaming is the hardest because you can't break it. Without ruining the feel, but when it's done right and everyone's kind of there, again, how Shadow put it, turn off the lights, or turn down them. Or how I do it a lot when I'm if you'll see me when I'm occasionally with eyes closed, staring off into the distance, doing the 1,000-yard stare, or when I'm gaming, I'll close my eyes and let the story the descriptions being told, and let my brain fill in the answer, all the details. And that's part of the fun is as they're describing it, letting your mind fill in all the holes and come to see the horror that's actually happening. And it really is that fall into what could be just pure terror.
I think
I
think part of the horror part is the buildup. It's not the like you're talking about, oh, we're going to meet some deep elder one. If you're playing Call of Cthulhu, unless it's a one-shot where you're actually going to meet one of them, most of the time it might be a ghoul, but usually it's like the Dark Coven or anyone that's like, Innsmouth, where everyone's looking at you. They kind of have that weird fishy appearance and something's off. And
it's one of the best stories, one of the best.
It is.
It doesn't have to be big or giant. It doesn't. It just has to make you feel unnerved. And the great thing, I think that's the important part of any horror game, is whether it's Call of Cthulhu, doesn't matter how great your character is, you can die from a simple bullet. It makes it very, you're just, and you can't go in with guns blazing, because anyone that remembers, not that it was the best, but if anyone remembers the old Friday the 13th series.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it.
Where they decided, where if you remember, they had the what were they? The occultist hunters, and they find out, and they have a demon chasing them, and it's only at the end they find out what their daughter was the one that summoned it to kill them. I mean, that's exactly a Call of Cthulhu. Okay, you took out the cultist, but now they're seeing something that you can't stop unless you know the magic, and now you have to lose your sanity to do it. And they have the mechanics. That's one of the things I do like about Call of Cthulhu and Aliens. They have the mechanics that build that up, where you go, do I want to push further down in this area because I will go in a bad place for it.
And it's like those are you're hitting on a lot of the key elements that make horror scary. And when people try to just do jump scares or pure body horror or pure gore, that doesn't always work. Like a jump scare works if you build up to it. But the thing is that if you can see it coming, it's not as good.
It's nowhere near as good.
Yeah. It's why I kind of fell out of watching horror from like the late 90s to mid 2000s, was because it was predictable. You could see this is where they're purposely ratcheting up the tension. Here comes the point. Here comes the environment. They're telegraphing it to you that here comes the jump scare. It's going to scare you. And here comes its jump scare, flash of light. And it's like, no, but it's more fun to like twist the environment slowly around to the point where it's that inevitability and you're watching it rolling slowly towards you. And you're trying to stop it, but can you?
I'll say something. If you really want to, at least for Alien, as I have the soundtrack, as soon as you play that music in the background, and especially if you're alone, doesn't matter whether it's day or night.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going into the basement. I'll wait, until some other people are home with me. It's or like I have my dog. The thing with talking about the thing, which I'm not sure that counts as science fiction or not.
Oh, that is. That's cool.
Oh, totally. That's a good one.
It's the point of, then you start becoming paranoid with the other people around you. Yeah, you know what? Actually, the funny thing is when you see the monster, that's what removes the tension.
Yeah.
And that's not what you
Completely.
want. You want this to build up, and you want it to feel like there were times that I know my son does this, is he hates the music at a certain point. It's like, I just wanted to get over with. Stop, especially, when they have like the violin and it just builds and it builds and it builds, and you're like, you're anticipating. That to me is what makes the games great. I agree with you, but that it's the close, intimate settings that I think that matter so much for horror. And you can't have all these other things from outside coming in to disturb you. It's funny is a lot of people, just if you've ever watched some of the horror movies, things that I'm so used to, but just the sound of cicadas out there, and they find the old house that has the cobwebs on the outside in the south, and there's like a swamp. Those are all classic, and you're like, okay, I'll explore what's going on. And I think that it's that slow buildup that matters so much in horror. It's not in your face. It's the fact that you can see things are getting bleaker and bleaker. And will I make it through? That's what makes the game fun whenever you're doing a horror movie or a horror setting.
Yeah.
Actually, that makes me think about how you mentioned the showing the monster is usually not a good idea. When would you say it is a good idea to actually show what the monster looks like? Or do you think it's just not a thing you should do until the absolute very end?
I don't think that the thing with horror is and if you watch from the black and white, I forgot what the one was, but I think it had Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. It's one of their films. And what they're a bunch of tourists. Maybe Shadow remembers this. They're a bunch of tourists in Eastern Europe driving around, and they're playing a chess game, and they're deciding what they're going to do with this couple. And then at the end, Boris Karloff gets captured, I think, by the Bela Lugosi. Because they're enemies, but they're playing a chess game. You can tell if they're playing back and forth, and you have the occult going in the background. And what they do, and this is sometimes what I think has more effective, is they show the shadow, and they see, of Bela Lugosi there, and you see him with a scalpel, and then all you see is the shadow as he does this to the shadow. And I don't have to see all the gore and blood. My mind will fill in all those gaps, which would probably be worse than if they showed it to me. And I think that's part of it. Well, it's not that you can't show part of the monster, but you don't want to give the full thing. It's kind of a letdown once you do that. And then that's the problem that Alien has always had, is that it's not, once they've shown the monster, you're fine, and then you go into an action horror, which is why I like Aliens, but they're really two different genres. But what really scared me in Alien was not the alien itself. It was the little face huggers when I was a kid, because that's what scares me. This is what's getting on my face, and it's going to put something in me. and the other thing is, it depends on people's life experience too. anyone that's been gasping for breath or thinks that they're choking. Could you just imagine putting that down your throat? And you're like, oh, I can see Kai just doing that right now.
I've been there. I know that. No.
I mean, but that's the horror part. Is that something that we've experienced, and we're just like, oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't not. But see, that's what your mind's filling in. You don't have to be as. That's why I like horror. That's the whole point of why darkness matters so much in horror. It's not or the otherness. The otherness of you're kind of confused. You're not sure what's going on, even when it's well lit. So that's the way that I feel about it. And the part of the horror of Alien was it wasn't the alien, it was the human beings that were behind it, or the android that's literally that's helping the monster kill you off. Like, great, now you've sabotaged it. So
yeah. So what
Jack,
about?
You ready to tell yours?
Oh yeah, I forgot I was gonna be asking a question. I was going around asking people. Okay, what was the question again? I completely forgot. It's been so long.
If you were gonna make invite people to a horror game, what would you say to bring them in?
Are you sure you want to ask me this question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I knew it. I just remembered. I actually did know what I was going to say, but then, I got kind of distracted, and now I don't remember exactly what it is. But instead, I'll just go with what I've been talking about this, I guess, like pretty much this entire time. So, it's this galaxy. Technically, it's like multiple galaxies which have since merged together into one. Like the whole Andromeda is going to collide with the Milky Way thing. That has happened. It's far, far in the future. Though, because the galaxy has been conquered by this Lovecraftian being that has not only taken over all of society, but it has convinced it's convinced everybody that either it's not there or that it's coming in and conquering everything has made everything better.
So, Jack, I'm going to ask you a question. With your friends, if you had to give a 1-paragraph spiel of, hey, let's go play this game.
Yeah.
What would you tell them without giving away everything?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to think of that because I never really had to do that. We all just kind of knew what it was about. But this Lovecraftian being has come in and conquered the galaxy, and it has set up this new system in which everyone, they think that they have achieved absolute perfection. That everyone thinks, because of what this thing has been telling them, is that they have created a perfect society and a perfect and free galaxy, despite the fact that this creature is slowly trying to take over, and it's second in command. It's people that are closest to it that actually have the power are exploiting the entire galaxy in order for they themselves to live the way that they want to with no repercussions. And they have they've conquered it, and they've convinced the public that nothing happened to begin with, and that everything has become perfect since then. Basically, nothing happened, and if it did, it was good.
So those are. I guess, Shadow, what would you do for yours?
To be honest, I wouldn't tell them. I absolutely wouldn't tell them it's a horror game. I would do everything I could to scare them in every way possible without telling them that's what I was going to do in the game. I'd run a traveler game or a contemporary game or whatever it was. I wouldn't tell them. I would just slowly use all the tricks up my sleeve, and put them in the situations that would make them, because all you can really do, I think, in a game sense, is make them fear for their character's life, or to just creep them out with things. I hate to put it quite like this, but if I know my friend's afraid of spiders, he's getting the spiders. If he's afraid of snakes, he's getting the snakes.
Clowns. I mean, the other part that I know that we were talking about this last week is, which I always finds funny because they don't bother me as much now, but anything that's like the leeches, anyone that's actually been around them, it's like, they're just like, I don't want to touch them. Which they're not, other than the fact they'll bite you, they're not really any different than some other parts. But yeah, I just find it funny is if you can get those things. But I have to be careful with it because my friend, I know his wife hates spiders, but I don't want to lose both of them as players if I overly creep them out. So sometimes you just want to, that's where you have to know your players and how much you want to do it. But I agree. If you're a full-grown man, it's coming at you. Spiders and snakes, yes. In fact, we'll do whatever else is out there. Oh wow. What's another one that's really good? Anyone hear about what may have happened to Amelia Earhart?
I actually know what happened.
Where they're talking about that it's possible that those coconut crabs, she may have survived the crash, and the coconut crabs may have come up and, picked her apart while she was sleeping.
I didn't know that part, but I do know that her and her co-pilot were having an affair.
Okay.
And she was pregnant. That's why she was throwing up on the airplane. And then they crashed, and after that, I don't know what happened. Well, but I know that at some point someone found something like remains or something like that, and there was some evidence of a baby.
Okay.
And they didn't make it. Yeah, they didn't make it.
I haven't heard that part, but I wouldn't bother. I mean, that sounds perfectly plausible. Because if you're that close with your co-pilot, yeah, that's going to probably. But
think about it. I kind of think that they were planning on running away together because she's married, but she's going off on an airplane, blah blah blah, with a guy that she was obviously pretty close with, for this huge long flight and. Like I said, after that, I don't know, but I do know those details.
Well, that was something that they threw up that may have occurred. But just thinking about if you've ever heard on what is it, National Geographic and stuff, where they have the crabs crawling and you can hear them off in the distance. And yeah, there's the Japanese theory, but yeah, then there's the part where she may have survived and got on the island, and then they just came out and just like. So, yeah, it's definitely, but I think that those are all those because people know what those are, and bugs, especially in the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, people do not want bugs crawling on them. It's just the feeling on you're like,
Even if they're not going to hurt you.
Yeah. Oh, especially if you get like a cockroach running across your face or some of those big ones. You're just like,
Hear them flying.
Well, those are the ones in the south. In the south, they fly. But the big cicadas, I had one jump on my leg, and and because I didn't immediately recognize it. My leg started shaking like this. So I was like, and then once I realized what it was, about a second later, I felt so embarrassed and. Fortunately, no one else saw me, but it's one of those instinctive reactions that you have.
Have you seen that clip where some guy walks up to this couple and like grabs the guy on the shoulder and he yells this super high pitched scream, and because he doesn't want to get embarrassed by his girlfriend or in front of his girlfriend, he starts singing. Kamaskian?
have.
Was it like
I-
that?
Here's one of the things I think that's hilarious is you watch one of the guys and you can tell he's a bodybuilder and stuff. He's got like this huge neck, these massive arms and everything else. And he goes into these haunted houses. Exactly like Kai was talking about where they turn the lights off.
Yeah.
And someone jumps out and that guy will scream like a little girl. And then as soon as he realizes that he got scared, he starts chasing the person down to hurt them. I'm like, dude, you paid money to go in here. If you aren't scared, I want my money back. That's one of the things I hated. But yeah, my friend used to work in that, but he said that was the problem that they had, where these really big tough guys who act like they weren't afraid of anything would scream like a little girl, and then they felt so embarrassed they would try hurting the employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, just really just laugh it off and say, "Yeah, you got me good." I mean, that's
Yeah, people have told me about that. I had a friend who worked in a haunted house for a bit, just a school thing. But like this one kid, his parents went in there, and his dad was like super big, and he got really scared. So that happened, and he chased the employees or who were students at the school around for a bit, and yeah, that was don't actually know what happened after, but I just know that it happened. Didn't see it though. Kind of wish.
I don't know. I'll have to read through this at some point, Coriolis, but I know that has some of like the space alien, vampire stuff. And I have way too many books. That's why when Shadow's like, "You should just read what you have," I said, "Yes, I should, but I'm a whore. I'm a whore. I have to buy more."
What?
I'm a whore for role playing games. That's the big thing about being a player.
Oh,
You don't have to read everything. You can
see, I
sit
stopped paying attention for a couple seconds, and I hear that.
Well, your father has talked about, I keep going back to my first love, which was AD&D. I said, yeah, I understand that, but I'm polyamorous when it comes to role-playing games. It's like, okay, honey, you have to wait in the shelf. I'll be back after I go play some others.
Great.
I almost
I
regret
love
going
you
up now.
all. You are my harem of role-playing games.
Oh, that's freaking awesome.
Well, this has been today's Shadow Chat.
Oh man, what a way to close it out! But I'm in mine right now. I'm surrounded by 300, probably about 200. The other ones are downstairs, but yeah, I'm not done buying games either. But I got to be more selective, and it's got to be something that I have a glimmer of hope that I'll get to play. You know what I mean? I used to be where I would just buy stuff, read it, and shelve it. Buy it, read it, shelve it, and now I until I get rid of some stuff, because I've got a bunch of game products I want to sell and give away at the, once we hit 500 subs, I'm giving away a bunch of stuff. And if I could do that by Christmas, then I'll give away a bunch more stuff to all our good friends out here in TV land. And then I can use that money and buy new stuff, stuff that I'll actually use. I bought like $1,000 worth of Kill Team stuff for a really good price, but I bought it to sell it. But I only sell during the holidays because that's when I know people will buy. Otherwise, it's sitting on eBay forever, and not like I have to do anything once I put it up. But I just know that it'll sell. From September to Valentine's Day, and once I get rid of some stuff, then I won't feel bad at all about shopping all spring and summer long when people are getting rid of their stuff to pay for their holidays. And that's the way it works.
I've bought a lot of different systems. Some of them are good. And, when we're talking about horror, I do like Monty Cook on some of the stuff he does. I don't necessarily like the Cypher system, but I do like a lot of the role-playing advice in there and things that they bring out.
Yeah, someone just gave me the Cypher. Rick from 28 Mil just sent me the Cipher book PDF, and I'm hopefully I'm going to get a chance to play it, but we'll see.
I'll say this much, because I know it's a little bit different. The Cipher Discord, at Cipher Unlimited Discord, I actually know the guys who run that. Well, I've talked to them, and they actually contacted me today because they said, "Hey, you had something wrong with your video." Really great guys to run with. The Cipher system isn't my cup of tea, but I understand why people love it so much. And if you love a D20, I think it gives you a lot out there. But it was a little too linear for what I liked. But as a GM, real fast to set up and go. One of the settings I do love, not that I like the writer, from her politics, but she does really good for writing, was Predation, which are basically dinosaurs with lasers. I'm like, why don't we have more games with dinosaurs with lasers?
That's funny, because we actually made some sci-fi dinosaurs about a year ago. We made some space alien dinosaurs out of cheap dinosaurs from the dollar store, and they turned out pretty darn good. And yeah, I mean, that used to be a big trope back in the 40s and 50s. You'd land on a planet and there'd be aliens dinosaurs with spacesuits and bubble helmets. It was great. Whatever happened to that crap? I don't know.
Like I said, this is one of their better ones. I like it. I don't care what game system you use. But she does a good job for the setting, sitting at like 66 million years ago, and they were time traveling. But yeah, I do recommend a lot of that. But I think that they do very good for what they recommend for the books. I really wish, I think they did a good job. Like we used to do the Appendix N for D&D. I think that's the problem that they have nowadays for some of these games. They just don't seem to spend as much time that you have to get a third party for WotC of how do you run these types of games. And I understand what they're looking at, but anyway. So is Nathan doing his thing tonight?
Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, we are going to be heading over there in about 3 minutes. Kai, do you have anything you want to add before we go?
No. We covered most of it, and honestly, if we're going to come back to some other time, I'll better to save it rather than just try to cram it at the last second.
Okay, cool. Because I want you to come back next week.
Yeah,
we're doing a two-parter.
Mm-hmm. I was waiting for everybody else to talk before I spoke, so I'll wait for next week.
Okay, well, definitely you got a spot here. You two, Owen and Hungar, if you're still listening, and James L. I don't know where you went, buddy, but you're cracking me up, and I hope you're already over at Nathan's hanging out there. And if you guys want to join us over there, you're more than welcome. We're going to talk about UFOs and aliens and ghosts and all kinds of paranormal stuff at the Nathan Allen Quantum Show tonight. Until God knows. Yeah, I've been boning up on that sort of stuff all week when I'm not doing game stuff. But it's always a nice way to end the week talking about something different but kind of related. But just whatever Nathan's got going on, I have no idea. He usually has some new cool thing that he's experienced or read about or heard about, or some new Ghostbuster equipment or something like that. Oh, hey, there's Nathan. What's up, Nathan?
And Nathan's water temple, I just saw his video for that.
Okay.
Where he said that he got the water and they let him go in for a couple minutes. So.
Yeah. I saw that earlier today, and yes, we're going over to Nathan's show right now. Nathan, you're doing a show, right? Okay, cool. Well, just give all of us a couple of minutes to unplug here and plug back in over there, and we'll see you guys there. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Had a lot of people watching us and some new people. Bastille Lung Boro. Sorry, my eyes are really bad. It's YouTube, Bastille. Hope to see you guys there. It's always a lot of fun. We'll be up for a while and talking about, whatever. There's God only knows where the conversation will lead us tonight. Mage, good seeing you. Yeah, ooh, I'm in the topic. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, it was great tonight. Had a lot of fun, and think about. I want to dive a little bit more into your guys' idea of an ideal horror game. What you guys would really like to run, or even just be a player in, if you could, get a bunch of people that were, the right people to play in a game that would, try and, join in the immersion, because that's what I've noticed being a player now lately. That's where I'm getting the most joy in gaming, is really getting into it. Not, I love the guys that I play with, Bruce's game and all his friends over there, and Bloodworth and his game, and Crafty Matt's Conan game. But when I'm doing it, I'm just, trying to get into it as much as possible and enjoy it. Rick invited me to a game last week, just a one-on-one Shadow of the Stars on Rick 28mm RPG. That's his channel, and it was a blast. Just 2 hours of pure immersion, and it was one of the best games I've ever had the pleasure of being in. And I hope you guys will go watch that. Sub to all these guys. And until next week, have a great weekend. Thanks again for stopping by, and I hope I see you guys real soon. Good night, everybody.
Take care.
Good night.